Hey guys, welcome to 12 Tone. Today we're going to talk about triplets. Triplets are a rhythmic feature where you play 3 even notes in the space where you'd normally play 2. This sounds a little mathy and weird, but you've heard it so many times without even noticing it. Here, listen to the snare drum in this pattern. You hear how the kick was playing on 1 and, then 3 and, but on the 2 and 4, in the same amount of time, the snare was playing 3 notes all evenly spaced. Triplets break down the typical pattern of 2s that we're used to, technically known by the hilarious name of duple meter, inserting a brief moment of another rhythmic feel. Triplets are generally written by using 3 of the standard note value they're closest to, then beaming them together and writing a 3 on top. If the note values are large enough that they don't use beams, like quarter notes or half notes, you can add a bracket below them to mean the same thing. There's a bunch of different ways to count 8th note triplets, but the simplest one I've found is just to use the syllables trip and let for the second and third notes. So we could have something like 1 triplet, 2 triplet, and so on. Now, triplets are by far the most common expression of a more general phenomenon known as tuplets, like quintuplets, sextuplets, or septuplets. Broadly speaking, tuplets are any incursion of non-duple meter into regular metric space. There are some interesting things you can do with these, but they're very rare and we'll leave them alone. For now. Getting back to triplets, some of you may be wondering why it has to be an incursion. Why can't we just play the whole piece with triplets? Fortunately, of course, we can. There are a couple ways to do this. The simplest is to write your piece in 6/8 or 12/8. Using these time signatures tells players to group the 8th notes in groups of 3 instead of 2. Using 6/8 or 12/8 to say that you want a triplet feel is kind of like a metric key signature. Anything you write in 12/8 you could also write in 4/4, but you'd constantly be writing 3s everywhere. Using one of these triple meter time signatures lets you use standard notation and just tell your players that everything is 8th note triplets. But there are some other cool things you can do with triplets too. One of them that you may be familiar with is a typical shuffle or swing pattern. Now, in a shuffle, you play a lot like you're playing in 12/8, but you omit the second triplet from every group of 3. This can help create a looser vibe than regular 8th notes called straight 8ths. Notating a shuffle or swing feel is incredibly simple. All you do is write your piece normally, with standard straight 8ths, then at the beginning write shuffle, swing, or draw this little equation. It's worth noting though that shuffle and swing, while definitely closely related, aren't exactly the same thing to everyone. The first difference is stylistic. Swing tends to be associated with more jazzy pieces, while shuffle is straight up blues. Also, if you ask jazz purists, shuffle is a crystallized triplet pattern, whereas swing is more loose and free, with the second note falling somewhere between the and the let, or even later. This is often compared to breathing or heartbeats, where not every pulse is exactly the same, and the rhythm is felt and flows naturally. A third possible difference that I've encountered is that some people interpret shuffles as more based on the downbeats, while swing is more upbeat and bouncy. Either way though, they're very similar and using the wrong one won't be a catastrophe. And that's triplets. Try the exercises, have some fun with them, and keep on rockin'.